Um, hey guys, welcome back to the episode of the NFL Universe. I'm joined with my co-host Max,
What's up, guys?
and we're back with Week 4. Both me and Max are kind of pressed for time this week, so we're gonna have a little bit of a shorter episode. Trying to cover less statistics, trying to run through it as quick as possible. Both midterm week for at least midterm week for me. I think it is for you as well. So,
It's actually fall break right now. I'm about to go on a car ride in about 2 hours. So
oh, there you go. Yeah, fall break starts for me tomorrow. But without further ado, I guess we'll start before we get into any games. Go over two big releases slash trades. I don't know what you can call the Stephon Gilmore situation, but two players, interestingly enough, start with Stephon Gilmore, 31-year-old corner, formerly of the Patriots now. They go to release him. I think he requests a trade as the release news comes out. The Panthers go ahead and throw a sixth-round pick for him in exchange. The Panthers now have the best defensive backcourt that I think I've ever seen in the
it's got to
NFL.
be mine. I've never seen one like this.
Between you have J.C. Horn, Stephon Gilmore, Dante Jackson, Jeremy Chin, C.J. Henderson. Yeah, I'd also say defensive backcourt.
AJ Bouye and C.J. Anderson.
Yeah, just
corners is enough.
It's an incredible situation. That Panthers defense is. They're not going to have to address the corner spot for another decade, which is insane. And the Patriots get something out of Stephon Gilmore. Honestly, I probably would have kept him. I think he's still a valuable corner. I get what the spot that the Patriots in right now. I think the salary cap was really the issue here, as well as his declining talent. He's been injured for the past 2 years, roughly. Wasn't going to play until week 7, so he had basically like 2 weeks where he was going to play. I personally, a player like Stephon Gilmore, I would have kept him and wrote out the contract and then not have resigned him, but they got value out of him over releasing him. What do you think, Max?
I mean, it's a 6th rounder, so I mean, they didn't get much. I mean, it's a shame a guy that good they can't get good value out of. But I mean, I do kind of understand because of the direction they want to go in. The Pats are going to look like they're if they're not already, they're going to rebuild pretty soon. And you could tell Gilmore definitely was not in their long-term plans. And the value definitely wasn't there with all the injuries that happened. And I definitely think they were in a tough spot. I mean, good thing they got at least something for him. It's a disappointing situation, but I mean, I don't know what they could have done.
Yeah. And then moving on from there, we have Jalen Smith, former linebacker of the Cowboys is now a member of the Packers. He's went ahead and signed with the Packers this morning. I was hoping the Giants were going to pick him up, especially with our starting linebacker, Blake Martinez, going down for the year with an ACL injury. But he's now on the Packers. I don't really think it makes that big of a difference on the Packers. Definitely helps their linebacker core a little bit, but ultimately Jalen Smith really hasn't been productive in the past 2 years. He signed that contract extension, but was it 2 years ago now? I forget how long
it was. It was back in the 2019 offseason.
2 years ago. Hasn't really been productive since then. It's been on and off the IR. And ultimately, when you look at the Cowboys linebacker core, you already have Landeresh, drafted Micah Parsons. It just doesn't make sense to keep him with his contract. So I totally get them releasing him. I'm sure that it's been rumored for a while now. They were trying to find trade offers and nothing really matched. So it made sense to release him. And I think the Packers are a fine spot for him. I don't really see an issue there. He's a kind of a plug and play type of guy. Your average run-of-the-mill middle linebacker doesn't really need a special lineup to go. He's decent in coverage. He's good at playing the run. Not quite as good as he was going back to it. It's only a 1 year going back a couple years. It's only a 1 year contract. They're not locked in forever. It's even a miracle when you think about the spot that he was in coming out of college, that he's even in the 6th year in the NFL. I mean, if you guys remember all the way back to that Notre Dame game where he had a huge inversion of a knee flexion and he had nerve damage. There's a threat of him never being able to walk again. And the fact that he's been so successful in the NFL was really a blessing. So I'm sure there's really no complaints on Jalen Smith's side of things in terms that he'd be able to continue to play football, just not for the Cowboys. Max?
I mean, I definitely think it was one of those situations where the Cowboys would have liked to keep him, but not at the price that he was at, because he was definitely being overpaid. And yeah, it's really all I have to say about that. I think the Packers got a pretty good player. I don't think it's going to take him to make a difference between them being a Super Bowl contender or not, but I think he helps their linebacking core, because that was definitely one of their biggest weaknesses last year. I mean, their defense was honestly underrated last year, but they didn't have great middle linebackers. So I think this helps a little. So we'll see what it does, but I think it can't hurt them.
And so that goes with our trades / releases. That being said, going into our first set of games, we're going to have the Jaguars and the Bengals. Bengals take this game 24-21. Story of the game isn't even about the game. We'll get that to in a second. But,
Oh my God.
you know, Bengals have been pretty good this season. I believe that they're 3-1 now after this game.
They are.
I expected them to make a slight improvement this year, especially with Joe Burrow being healthy and really getting acclimated. Didn't expect them to do this good, but again, it is beating a team like
I believe
the
they're
Jaguars.
first in the AFC North because they're the only one that's won a division game, I think.
That is correct. And looking at this game in terms of players, again, Joe Burrow did good. The Bengals team is just doing well. Jamar Chase is probably top two, if not best receiver out of his rookie class this year. So the Bengals are looking pretty good. They have a good future ahead of them. Jaguars is the complete opposite. Look at the Jaguars, right? They had a decent game this year. You had James Robinson get 18 carries, nearly 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. You'd like to see out of him. Trevor Lawrence seems like he's improving week by week. Is really developing as a quarterback. Again, still a rookie quarterback, has a lot of work to do before he's what he can be. But possibly we're looking at a Peyton Manning type projection for Trevor Lawrence. There's a decent amount of promise with the young talent they have on this team, but as Max mentions every week, they're still lacking a ton of talent. There's a lot of names, not a lot of depth. But more importantly, is the coaching situation has completely boiled down to nothing. Urban Meyer is on the brink of being fired. Obviously, the team's 0-4, but more importantly, I would say, I've seen a lot of mixed reviews about this online, but as you guys know, the news broke that Urban Meyer, not only did he lose that game, but everyone else went home. Urban Meyer stayed in Ohio, attended a bar that he owns, and was apparently getting danced on within his lap, quote unquote. I saw that was written in ESPN.
Getting danced on.
Yeah, then danced on.
Getting danced on.
What it seems a young college girl, and he has a wife, and I believe he has kids.
That is correct.
So obviously, there's some sort of cheating going on there, and everyone's like, "Oh, you can cheat in the NFL," but Urban Meyer and the way he's done things has been a preacher of being good faith and growing men, and everything starts with your morals and what your action you put into everything, and then talent takes over. And that's just a complete opposite of what he's done. I mean, he lost the game, went to a bar to drink and cheat on his wife, technically. Morally he's not there. And then even more importantly, in terms of the football side of things, I'm just not a huge fan. He's lost the locker room. The players don't believe him. There's multiple reports of players coming out saying he's lost the locker room. No one believes in him. He's preaching things that just are not things that he believes in himself. They're not winning games. It's a complete mess. I know it's week 4. People are saying save Urban Meyer. I say fire him now.
Let me read this thread that came out on Tuesday.
Go for it.
So, thread. The Urban Meyer situation in Jacksonville has reached a crisis point, especially in the locker room. One player told me he has zero credibility in that stadium. He had very little to begin with. Players were particularly put off by the fact that Meyer canceled Monday's team meeting as he dealt with the uproar over videos of him and a young woman getting cozy in that Ohio bar. He even canceled the team meeting. He was too scared, a player said. Instead, Meyer only apologized to position groups individually. He portrayed the woman in the videos as a random person who was just there dancing. Suffice to say, his audience was highly skeptical, said one player. We looked at him like, WTF? Right when he left, everyone started dying laughing, and he knew it. Bottom line, said the player, it's bad. I don't know how he's going to function.
Yeah, and even the Jaguars, I believe, owner came out and said that, we believe in Urban Meyer. He's going to fix the situation.
It's all PR talk.
It's PR talk, and it's a testament to how bad the Jaguars are as a franchise.
It is. It's
and
testament.
Any owner with any skin in the game that has a winning franchise would fire Urban Meyer after something.
Or not make that mistake in the first place.
Yes, or not make a mistake of hiring Urban Meyer's college coach through and through. However, he's kind of locked into the Jaguars now because I can't see him being hired again as a college coach. Because, half of your job as a college coach, if not more, is recruiting. Who's going to want to be recruited by Urban Meyer after his track record in the NFL, A, and B, now that his morals have technically been exposed? And that's believing in your coach, especially when you got to choose between Ohio State, Alabama, you got that level of talent. The coach that you go to is huge. And if you're not believing in Urban Meyer as a coach, why would any high skill level Division I program want to hire him?
And let's say one thing, not necessarily what you or I believe in, but just the facts. Urban Meyer's not under fire just because he went to a bar in Ohio. Okay, we've seen in the NFL, if you're going to be that good, you're going to get a job. We're seeing Deshaun Watson, despite the fact that he has 20-some lawsuits against him, there's still trade rumors about him. If you're good enough, you're going to find a way. But it's the combination of everything. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't have the players behind him. And now it's just a combination of everything at this point. And that's really what it comes down to. He can't stay out of trouble. Even in a week where the Jags look like they have a close game, we're building something, they take an even bigger L off the field.
100%. So moving on from there, for the interest of time, Titans, Jets pull this one out in overtime, 27-24. Zach Wilson looks like the talent that he's going to be in the future in the NFL. Hitting tight windows downfield. Corey Davis is a fantastic game against his forward team, 111 yards, touchdown. Titans fumble this one, Max.
All right. So after the game ended on Sunday, I went on Twitter and put an 11-block thread on there, basically outlining all the issues I have with the team, okay? And in this game, A.J. Brown and Julio Jones were out. I get it, okay? It was going to be a lot easier all day for the Jets to stack the box because they knew we were going to run with Derrick Henry because that's what we usually do. We didn't lose this game because injuries. This game was due to recurring issues, and our coaches, Mike Vrabel, Todd Downing, our offensive coordinator, Shane Bowen, our defensive coordinator, it's time for everyone to make an adjustment here, okay? We have had so many big plays, like busted coverages in the secondary since last year. And even when we released Adoree Jackson, we get rid of Malcolm Butler. We even have Christian Fulton who's playing well, but then we bring in Janoris Jenkins and we're still having these issues. Like, when you allow that many big plays, your communication and scheming is not there. And we can see it and part of it's based on how the Titans line up, for some reason, 8 yards behind the line of scrimmage. You're giving your receivers the opposing receivers free yards if they want it. Like, put Fulton on him, D him up. I don't understand the issue there because you're giving up so much leverage on the outside. And this offense, I mean, as great as it was last year, it's getting figured out immediately. Todd Downing is going with a continuation of Arthur Smith's playbook. And it's, again, establish the run, play action pass. Every third down, Derrick Henry comes out and Jeremy McNichols comes in. They know we're going to pass the ball 100% of the time. It's just so predictable. There's no pre-snap motion. There's nothing there to keep the defense guessing. It's the same thing all the time. You don't even bother to use Ryan Tannehill's legs. He can run, and we don't let him do that. And we don't even let him throw the ball more. At the end of the game, he had to lead a game-tying drive. No Julio, no AJ. Derrick Henry's on the bench for like all but 2 or 3 plays, and he leads them down and we tie the game. Put the ball in his hands more. Stop playing down to competition every single week. Like, sooner or later, when you have to come back in games, you're going to get burned. And this is a perfect example of that. You cannot be down several possessions and think, okay, we're going to get to do it. Yeah, you can overcome adversity, but it's self-inflicted adversity. And I don't know what's going on in the first 3 games of this discipline. The Titans' bread and butter last year was good discipline, no turnovers, no penalties, things that'll keep you in games, not beating yourself up. And that's all we've been doing. There were no turnovers this game. We still had 8 penalties. Right now, it's a mess. The coordinators need to get their scheming together. Vrabel needs to prepare his team week in and week out. Right now, this Titans team is blowing a good situation. Yes, we were injured. It's early in the year, but I think a lot of it comes down to preparation and X's and O's more than people think.
That being said, Titans came in the year as a potential Super Bowl favorite. Now they're 2-2. It's not too late to not even close to too late to save the season. But if you don't get on it soon, you continue to lose games to the Jets. It's not good. To the very least. Moving on from there, we had the Lions and Bears. Not much to say about this game other than Jared Goff, pretty much the reason the Rams were not as good as they were over the past couple of years. Pretty obvious here, had a pretty abysmal game. On the Bears side of things, another good game. I think the best game of his career so far for Justin Fields. Again, not fantastic. Had an interception, a little over 200 yards, but is somewhat serviceable. On the Bears side of things, another thing, David Montgomery, 106 yards and 2 touchdowns, but is now out 4 to 5 weeks, I believe, with a hamstring injury, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't remember exactly what it was. But I know it was an injury.
So Damian Williams also had 55 yards and a touchdown this game. He's going to step up and be their premier running back now. And they run the ball a lot, so Damian Williams is a really good fantasy guy for the next couple of weeks. Allen Robinson is still kind of non-existent. Everyone in the line is non-existent. They're an irrelevant team. They'll probably get the first overall pick, but
and now Justin Fields is going to start permanently.
Yeah, which after this game, Matt Nagy came out and said, Andy Dalton is our starter. Don't get a question. A couple days later, he goes, I'm switching to James Field. I feel like you listen to the people around him. He's saying Justin Fields, rather. Justin Fields has performed well enough in his rookie year so far that he can be the starter. Not exactly a great quarterback yet, but better than what Andy Dalton has, and obviously has a higher ceiling. And if they have an equal floor, you go with Justin Fields, let him make mistakes, try to win football games for him. Any other comments there?
Really.
Nope. Colts, Dolphins. Colts take this one 27-17. I didn't expect the Colts to win this one, but at the end of the day, Colts have talent. They have just not put it together. In terms of the 1-3 teams, they're one of the best 1-3 teams in the NFL, if not the best 1-3 team in the NFL. Carson Wentz is not a horrible quarterback, but Taylor, Mack, solid running backs, and even though I believe Mack requested a trade,
I think they're looking to trade him.
Yeah, Mack requested a trade. Pittman's a pretty solid receiver. Pascal is decent. They have talent all around. I think defensive side, you have Darius Leonard.
The offensive line though is nowhere near as good.
That's true.
It was.
And you still have Quentin Nelson to build around. This team is not complete, but again, they're not horrible. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but that's how they're able to beat a team like the Dolphins, who are poised to win this game. On the Dolphins side of things, nobody really did fantastic either. Both teams are 1-3. Neither teams are probably going to make the playoffs, but I don't know what else to say, Max.
Everyone for the Dolphins is really out of sync so far, especially Myles Gaskin, a guy who I expected to come in and be pretty good this year, but he is really disappointed. I tried dropping him in fantasy, but my waiver claim didn't go through. But I'm even without Tua, I'm shocked as to how bland the Dolphins are, especially on offense this year.
Yeah, and maybe it's a byproduct of Jacoby Brissett, but
maybe they just overachieved last year.
Yeah, it's too early to tell both these teams. Next game we have is Browns Vikings. Browns win this one 14-7. Kind of a weird game. Baker Mayfield has been good this year, but apparently he came out today. He has a partially torn labrum, and he hasn't been over the top. He hasn't really made any leaps or strides, but it's been good enough to win. The rushing game has been absolutely fantastic. That count between Chubb and Hunt has been amazing. Chubb with 100 yards, and then you had Hunt 69 yards and a touchdown. Hunt's been really invested in the passing game too. 2 receptions on 17 yards. Receiving wise, again, they're still without Landry. Odell only had 27 yards. Offensively, we're not great. The only thing I have to say is this Browns defense is fantastic. Top 3 defense in the NFL, has been super productive. Myles Garrett with the half sack here. Denzel Ward had a half sack. Going through the stats right now, McKinley had a sack, and then an interception for Williams. This defense has been super productive. The Vikings are not a fantastic team. They held Dalvin Cook to 34 rushing yards. I mean, that says a lot there. I think the Browns are going to win their division, and it's going to be because of their defense. Max?
You said Mayfield has a torn labrum partially?
I saw it on ESPN this morning, yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy because Mayfield was one of those players who I predicted to take a big leap this year, especially with having everything around him. But that could put a damper on him. So hopefully they get better because you can't. No matter how good you are, you're gonna have to have a good quarterback play to go far in the playoffs. So, all you have to do is with that team. I mean, he really is just managed, so he doesn't have to do that much. But if he were to go to that next level, they might be Super Bowl favorites. So hopefully he can recover.
Moving on from there, we have Washington Falcons. Washington wins this one 34-30, moves to 2-2. Not much to say about this one other than Tyler Heineke. I think he's pretty much solidified himself as their starting quarterback for at least the next year or so. Fantastic game here, 290 yards, 3 touchdowns, no complaints there. Gibson, 63 yards and a touchdown. McLaurin had another fantastic game, 123 yards and 2 touchdowns. Again, decent game from Matt Ryan, too, 283 yards, 4 touchdowns, especially against a decent defense. Cordero Patterson has been the best running back for the Falcons, and I think they're going to continue to use him. Kind of interesting. Came out of nowhere, especially with how old Cordero Patterson is, but had 82 yards and 3 touchdowns here in terms of receiving, and then had rushed for 34 yards. Both teams are not good. Both teams are probably not going to make the playoffs, but good win for Washington. I expect a little bit more out of their defense. On the Falcons side of things, I'm expecting a little bit more out of Kyle Pitts. Really hasn't performed anything fantastic so far. 50 yards on 4 receptions, max.
One thing I'm really surprised by is Washington's defense. That front seven and especially that defensive line alone, I thought they were going to be really good. And last year they finished great. Maybe we overestimated their secondary, but even then they added William Jackson to the offseason. So I don't really know what it is. That's one of those units I definitely feel is underperforming so far in the year.
So next game we have Bills Texans. Bills win it 40-0, complete blowout.
Yeah.
David Mills was not ready for this Bills defense. 4 interceptions on 87 yards. That's all I'm going to say about the Texans. We expect this out of them. This is more like the Texans are going to be. Josh Allen, not a fantastic game, but enough to get a huge W. 248 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Obviously, the defense did a lot here. Singletary, 79 yards rushing. Zach Moss, 61 yards, a touchdown. Josh Allen, 41 yards. And then receiving-wise, one of the better games that we've seen out of Stephon Diggs this year. It really hasn't been overly productive like he was, but it's obviously still a fantastic receiver. 114 yards with 7 receptions. Knox has 2 touchdowns. Complete blowout for the Bills. Anything else, Max?
No, we knew what this would be.
So going over from there, we have the Giants and the Saints. What a game. What a game. So the Giants are down kind of big going into the fourth quarter. I believe the fourth quarter, yeah, they were down. They wind up tying it up in the last moments. Daniel Jones runs it in for a touchdown, or Saquon Barkley came for, remember who scored the last touchdown. I believe it was Saquon who got a reception. Yeah, it was Saquon. Yes, right. He scored the touchdown to tie, put it in overtime. And Daniel Jones, I think, ran in. No, it was Saquon Barkley who ended the game. It was Daniel Jones who ran it in to tie the game to put it in overtime.
Sure? Well, was it on a 2-point conversion? I'm pretty sure Saquon scored the tying touchdown.
I can't remember.
Let's look it up right now.
It was just, you can look it up. I'll keep talking, but what an incredible game out of the Giants. They get their first win of the season. Daniel Jones looks like the quarterback that he was drafted to be in this game. Daniel Jones, like he's progressing mid-season, and it's, I've been down on Daniel Jones pretty much his entire career. Never loved the guy. Still don't know if he's the answer, but I can't complain with the results. Looked really good this week against a pretty talented Saints defense.
And it was Saquon who caught the touchdown before. It was actually a touchdown 2-point conversion, which Daniel ran in for. Then Graham Gano kicked the tying field goal.
There you go. So Saquon Barkley, 52 yards rushing the touchdown. Still working on that rushing game, but has been also really active in the receiving game too. 74 yards of a touchdown. Receiving-wise, the Giants receivers are stepping up. Yeah, Tony, still struggling with his name, 78 yards. On 6 receptions, 116 yards and 6 receptions for Golladay, and John Ross, who makes his debut for the Giants, 77 yards and a touchdown. The way that John Ross played in this game looked like he finally found his spot. It seems like he's going to be that burner for the Giants. He's going to be that Henry Ruggs. He's going to be that Tyreek Hill that allows them to spread out the defense more, give little open up the defense a little bit more for underneath routes, et cetera, et cetera. Glad to see it. Evan Ingram, pretty much non-existent, is always 27 yards. Defensively, Ojulari finally does not register a sack, which sucks because he was on such a tear. But on that, Saints drop another one here. Saints are just not in a position to win. I mean, Kamara did good with 120 yards and 26 carries, but ultimately the receiving core is not good enough. Their defense is solid, but it's not enough to get over the fact their offense has been so lackluster this season. Max?
Yeah, I just don't get the inconsistency from the Saints. The last time they lost, it was because their offense. This time their defense their offense wasn't spectacular, but their defense couldn't keep the Giants in check. A team who had all kinds of questions about their quarterback being the future of their team. So I don't know what's really going on there. The Saints is just one of those teams I can't get a read on just yet.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, it was really a team loss for the Saints, but
I'm getting a phone call.
That's all good. All right, so it's really a team loss for the Saints there, and I'm not sure really where to put it because obviously their defense is better than that usually, their offense is better than that, but again, team loss for the Saints there. Moving on from there, we have the Chiefs and the Eagles. Chiefs win this one 42-30. Mahomes puts on a complete show, 5 touchdowns, 278 yards. Edwards-Helaire finally is able to register the rushing yards that he was projected to out of the first round. 102 yards. I just want to see Helaire get more rushing yards because they drafted him in the first round. You got to see production out of him. D. Williams with 42 yards and a touchdown. Tyreek Hill actually exploded in terms of touchdowns this game, 3 touchdowns, 186 yards. And that was pretty much the bulk of their receptions here. I think the most important thing here is, don't doubt Jalen Hurts. He's still learning. I think he's a solid quarterback. He's pretty much solidified himself as a starter for the Eagles with this game. More importantly, I think this says more about the Chiefs defense. That Chiefs defense is absolute Swiss cheese. It is a bottom 2 defense in the NFL, if not dead last. They gave up 30 points to the Eagles. I don't know how the Chiefs are going to win a Super Bowl this year if their defense can't keep up. It's they're 2-2 for a reason. Their defense is just not keeping up with their offense.
And it's kind of have one with that defense though, which is crazy.
I know, but it's been worse. I think it's worse now, and it shows with the 2-2 record that I think Cap has ultimately hurt them. Obviously, their offense is still really good. It's not. I don't think it's as productive as it was in the past 2 years as of right now. I think it's a large byproduct of the fact they released both their offensive tackles and are reworking that offensive line. And then defensively, they had to let some guys go, like Tenno, Passing Young, still trying with his name, went to Villanova. Shout out Villanova. Just letting players here and there go due to Cap's restraints. And it's only going to hurt them as they go along because they're going to have to pay guys like Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. Having to sign them contract extensions. Obviously, they locked down Patrick Mahomes pretty much forever, but as a delegate Cap, this team is going to become weaker, and they're going to have to figure out, are they going to get players from the draft? How are they going to work out things? I don't know. I'm just personally scared for the Chiefs in terms of the Super Bowl hopes. I have no doubt they're going to be a playoff team. I just don't know if they're going to make it back to the Super Bowl with the way that they're playing. Max?
I think it's one of those situations where we always talk about the Chiefs having questioned early season and all throughout the regular season. Let them make the playoffs because they always seem to be able to put it together. Again, we've seen in the past years, they truthfully don't need that great of a defense to win a Super Bowl because that offense, if Mahomes can lead them and they can execute on all cylinders, they're going to be fine. So I would say reserve judgment until later in the year, until the playoffs.
With that being said, we got Panthers Cowboys. Cowboys win this one 36-28. Ultimately, Dak is playing out of his mind. It's probably his best year so far. The reads he's making, the way he's playing is absolutely fantastic. 188 yards, not a lot, but 4 touchdowns. Was very efficient when he got the ball. Zeke Elliott's looking in form, 142 yards and a touchdown. Mark Cooper had a touchdown. Schultz had a touchdown. Wilson had a touchdown. Jarwin had a touchdown. Passing-wise, fantastic. Again, the Panthers without Christian McCaffrey, Christian McCaffrey might be back this week. I think that was really different. DJ Moore has been absolutely playing fantastic too. Top 5 receiver in the NFL right now, 112 yards in this, 113 yards rather in this game, 2 touchdowns. The Panthers is still a really good team. They're 3-1 for a reason. I think they're on the way to make the playoffs, but the Cowboys are definitely going to win out the NFC East. I think it's without a doubt. They're head and shoulders above every other team right now. So both really good teams. It's a really good game. Both played decently well. I think Panthers and Cowboys are both on a good track. Cowboys just came out on top because I think they're probably a little bit more of a talented team right now. Max?
I just hope that this game shows the Panthers that they don't need to be feeding Christian McCaffrey the way they've been in the past few games that he's played to win games. Because look at this. They scored 28 points today. Sam Darnold had a bunch of rushing touchdowns. DJ Moore's a great weapon. Robbie Anderson, too. They have guys. Spread the ball around a little more. Yeah. You don't need to run through one player, and it shows in this game. Because this team had doubts about being able to keep up offensively without McCaffrey. They're definitely a worse offense without him, but they can still hold their own. So hopefully they learn that they can diversify their play calling and keep the defenses guessing a little more.
That's partially the reason I think that Christian McCaffrey's been injured at least the past 2 years. And he's almost used every single down on offense, risking injuring him. If they're not running the ball from him, they're giving him a dump off pass for a check down. They're running a screen. It's just Christian McCaffrey. Let's put it this way. He's coming back this week off an injury in ESPN right now in a regular PPR league. He is projected 27 points, which is nuts for a projection. Nuts. And that's just through his high usage. But you're right. There's room outside of McCaffrey. Went on from there, Seahawks, 49ers. Seahawks take this one 28-21. Was kind of surprised by this. I don't have faith in the Seahawks at all. It's just a bad week for the 49ers, really. Wilson is kind of plateaued. I don't really see anything great out of him. Chris Carson has a neck injury. Collins is looking like he's going to step in. I know they play tonight. I don't know if it's out yet, but I doubt Chris Carson plays. And if he does, it's going to be very limited. Alex Collins might be a good guy to pick up because obviously they run the ball a decent bit there over in Seattle. And I don't think with Chris Carson's neck injury, the way I'm looking at it medically, I don't have high hopes for it. So if you could pick up Alex Collins and put him on your bench, it might be a good move. Other than that, I really don't have much to say. Garoppolo's been kind of injured. Trey Lance is stepping up. Trey Lance had 2 touchdowns, no receptions. It's only about time before Trey Lance takes over as starting quarterback there. And then Trey Sermon, really good rushing game out of him, 19 carries on 89 yards. So then Deebo Samuel, 156 yards and 2 touchdowns. One of those guys having another fantastic year, another top 5 wide receiver in the NFL. Again, this 49ers team is going through a transition, but I don't know, they dropped this one. I really expect them to win this one, Max.
Yeah, and I think really another story, the bigger story for me is Jimmy Garoppolo getting hurt again, and it just shows year in, year out, you can't trust this team to stay fully healthy. And so, again, I keep saying this every week, but they may want to look into some serious changes on their training staff because they can't afford. It's this time it's one player, it's Jimmy G. But again, we're talking every year injury after injury, and it struggled to keep them consistent on the field.
Mm-hmm. So moving on from there, we have Cardinals Rams. Cardinals absolutely destroy the Rams, 37-20. Ultimately, I think the Rams had a bad game here. I wouldn't say this is the end all be all of everything. Matt Stafford missed a couple passes. It's just one of those fluke games for the Rams. They didn't play well against a really good team in the Cardinals. It's kind of the result there. On the Cardinals side of things, I think they are very close to being Super Bowl favorites. I wouldn't consider them Super Bowl favorites yet, even though they're 4-0. They destroyed the Rams, who were the previous Super Bowl favorites. The issue is for me, right? Cardinals are 4-0. They beat some bad teams. They should have lost that game against the Vikings. They won big against the Rams, but the Rams also played pretty bad on their own. You can't really blame. I was watching a piece of Zach Shalmer, who's at Strong Opinion Sports. Love his podcast as well. Go check that out if you guys haven't. He has a great podcast. How can you blame the Cardinals for Matt Stafford missing wide open receivers? Those type of mistakes it's on Matt Stafford, and it's not. Matt Stafford has been fantastic this season. I can't really say it's 100% the Rams, but I think these two teams are probably your favorites for the Super Bowl. Right now. And the Cardinals win this one. I wouldn't be surprised if they play each other again at some point. That you don't see the opposite, where you see the Rams win it. It's just a bad game for the Rams. Cardinals are still a fantastic team, and I think people are finally seeing what I was seeing with them in terms of Cliff Kingsbury is not as bad of a coach as we thought. He's serviceable. And then the talent they have in the team is fantastic. Kyler Murray is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. DeAndre Hopkins, Christian Kirk, Andy Isabella. AJ Green. They have so many weapons. And then Chase Edmonds has been a fantastic running back this season. There's just so many weapons on the offensive side. Defensively, they're handling their own. This Cardinals team is really something to be reckoned with. In my opinion, they're technically Super Bowl favorites, but I wouldn't say they're Super Bowl favorites, if you guys know what I'm saying. They're better than any other team in the NFL right now, but I don't think they're so good they should be locked in as guaranteed to make Super Bowl type of team like the Chiefs have been in the past couple of years. Max?
I think this game is also one of those things where the Cardinals came in not really getting the respect of the Rams. People are talking about how they got Stafford. They're so much improved. They're so good on both sides of the ball. I still feel like it's one of those situations where the Cardinals were kind of riding the underdog role to some extent, and they're showing the league again why they're that good. So it'll be interesting to see now that they've beaten the Titans as bad as they did, they beat the Rams as bad as they did. Yeah. I feel like now they're going to have more of the attention on them. So we'll see how this goes. Especially this weekend against Arizona, against the 49ers. I think that's kind of one of those games where the 49ers could go on, get an upset because they're kind of disappointing so far, and the Cardinals are definitely going to be the team that's riding the hype going in. So we'll see how they handle it.
100%. Look at the Cardinals' rest of their schedule. They have a lot to prove. They're going to solidify whether they are that type of Chiefs team this year or not in upcoming games. 49ers, Browns, Texans is an easy win, but 49ers, Browns, Packers, the 49ers again, Panthers, Seahawks, Bears. They play the Rams again on December 13th. Lions, Colts, Cowboys, Seahawks. So, they have a pretty decent schedule ahead of them, and they're really going to have to prove where they fall in the next couple of games. If they can win at least half of those really tough games, they're really going to solidify themselves as Super Bowl favorites. And I think it's going to make the difference. Moving from there, we have the Packers, Steelers. Steelers defense is really keeping them in this games, but Ben Roethlisberger, it's his time. He's not performing. He's not giving this offense what it needs. Complete noodle arm. No mobility. I think he's really next to their offensive line. Ben Roethlisberger is the reason that this franchise needs to rebuild. Najee Harris has been really good, 62 yards and a touchdown, which is one of his worst games of the year. Which again, if that's one of your worst games, you're having a pretty good year. Najee Harris has been pretty fantastic this season. Deontay Johnson, 92 yards on a touchdown. Juju had 2 receptions and 11 yards, and Juju's better. You know what I mean? Really held back by Ben. Another good game from the Packers. I really don't have much to say other than that. This game is just indicative of Ben Roethlisberger.
How many receptions did Najee Harris get? Do you know?
Najee Harris also got, you're right, he also had 6 receptions, 29 yards. He's been really active in the passing game too.
Yeah. I mean, nothing more to add. It's been what I've been saying the whole year. Ben is washed, and this team isn't going anywhere, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. So moving on from there, we have the Ravens Broncos. Both teams are now 3-1. Ravens won this one 23-7. Lamar Jackson was pretty fantastic, at least passing wise. 316 yards and a touchdown. Was really held rushing wise for Lamar Jackson. 7 rushes for 28 yards. So that Broncos defense did a pretty good job containing Lamar Jackson in terms of running ability. But Marquise Brown, 91 yards with a touchdown. Honestly, the Broncos kind of showed why they are what they are right now. Bridgewater was Locke pretty much shared the game here. Gordon, 56 yards rushing. I think fantastic out of this Broncos team. I think they're vulnerable. I think they're one of the worst 3-1 teams right now. They beat really bad Giants team at some point. Don't have much faith in the Broncos, honestly. They started off a little bit hot, but I think they're going to cool down here on. And then Ravens, obviously, they've been inconsistent this year, but again, you can't count out Lamar Jackson. He's just that dynamic of an X factor when it comes to games. Max?
I think what's really indicative in this game is like what the Broncos offense did when Drew Lock came in. To be fair, they only had 7 points at the half. But when Teddy Bridgewater got hurt and Lock came in, the offense just completely stopped. They couldn't get anything going at all. Yeah. And I just think it goes to show yet again another example of how Drew Lock is not going to pan out in this league. And oh my God, I'm getting another call. I'll pause.
All right. And then just going off what Max had said, there's a little clip that I saw that was like it was more of an audio clip, but it was from The Longest Yard, and I forget what the guy's name is. The Hispanic actor goes, I could have been quarterback, and then Adam Sandler was like, show me what it is. Adam Sandler's supposed to be Teddy Bridgewater, and the Hispanic actor supposed to be Drew Lock, and it's like, all right, show me why you should be quarterback. The Hispanic actor, again, I'm only calling him that because I don't remember his name. Throws the ball, completely misses the target, and is like, this is why you're not starting quarterback. And it's kind of like a Teddy Bridgewater, Drew Lock situation, but ultimately not much of a game there. Next game was Buccaneers Patriots. Patriots with Bill Belichick schemed Tom Brady very well. Really limited his ability. 269 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Brady's worst game of the year by far. However, Buccaneers are by far the better team, especially talent-wise, and they come out on top. Leonard Fournette has really taken over that role as starting running back for the Buccaneers. 20 carries, 90 yards. Ronald Jones got a couple carries on the goal line, put up a touchdown there. Receiving-wise, nobody did fantastic. Patriots, I think Mac Jones had a pretty solid game, nothing fantastic. 31-40 passing, 275 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Rushing-wise, they had no rushing game. Look, in terms of rushing, let's get this. Patriots had 4 yards from Nelson Aguilar, 0 from Bolden, 0 from Taylor, -1 from Mac Jones, and -4 from Harris. So awful rush. One of the worst rushing performances I've seen forever. Close game. Buccaneers are a lot better of a team, but Bill Belichick can pretty much outcoach rather Tom Brady. But obviously Tom Brady comes out on top here. Not much else to say, Max.
And all I can say is this game, like I said in last week's podcast, if you were expecting it to be a blowout because the Bucs are just that much better, then you honestly weren't paying attention, because again, when you coach a player for 20 years, you're going to know how to game plan for him. So that's exactly what happened with Belichick here. I mean, he's a great coach, but he has a huge advantage right here. And you shouldn't be thinking much of this game being close, because it was always going to be a close game.
Yeah. Last game of the week that we didn't cover yet, Chargers, Raiders. Chargers win it 28-14. Derek Carr, one of his worst games so far, 296 yards, touchdown, 1 interception. Jacobs wasn't very productive. Ruggs only had 60 yards. Ultimately, this Chargers team is just really, really good. Justin Herbert is fantastic. 222 yards, 3 touchdowns, 20 for 5 for 38 passing. This game, I think, has really solidified the Chargers as Super Bowl contenders. They've been that good this season. Raiders, on the other hand, have some work to do, obviously. Again, I still think they're a playoff team, but this shows I think Chargers are a lot better of a team. They pretty much handled them out throughout the entire game. Wasn't much of a competition. So in terms of looking at the AFC, I have to take the Chargers over the Raiders any day of the week. Raiders still have some work to do, and Chargers take this one big. Max?
I was honestly in awe of both teams in this game because the Chargers, I mean, what you said, this team is really looking complete. Justin Herbert's really showing why he's as good as he was last year, and he's continuing to prove it. And it's for the Raiders, even though they were down 21 going to the half, they came out and still made this a game. Derek Carr brought him back in. Darren Waller helped him out too. Hunter Renfrow was another player I'm really, really impressed with so far. If you've seen the routes he runs, for a guy like him who was like, I don't know, he was definitely a mid to late round. I don't remember exactly what round it was, but he's one of those players who's outperforming his value in the draft. And Henry Ruggs looks like he's finally coming into his own. He had one deep catch and another that he didn't catch, but it was a spot foul due to defensive pass interference. I think these two teams are really going to go neck and neck for. I don't know about they're going to win the division because they have to deal with the Chiefs, but they're definitely going to be up there in terms of playoff contenders. And who knows if I don't know how I feel like facing them if I were in the wild card round if I were a division winner.
In my opinion, the AFC West is probably the strongest division in football right now between the Chargers, the Chiefs, and the Raiders. I mean, that's really hard to beat.
We would have thought it was the NFC West, but
yeah,
they're kind of underperforming a little.
A lot of good divisions, a lot of not great ones in the NFC East. Other than that, it pretty much wraps up our coverage of last week. Going right into things, I guess we're going to predict the upcoming games for this week. Max, are you ready for our lightning round of picks?
I am ready.
All right. So first game of the week, we have Rams Seahawks. That is tonight. Rams by 1 million. I don't think it's going to be much of a competition.
I don't see them losing twice. I don't see the Seahawks winning twice against that good of a team. I'm definitely going Rams.
Next game, we have Jets Falcons. I'm taking the Jets here. Jets are going to move to 2-3, I think, right here.
The interesting bit of news I believe just came out during the
Calvin
podcast.
Ridley.
Calvin Ridley is staying home for personal reasons. He's not making a trip to London for this game. That being said, I still take the Falcons because I don't see the Jets winning twice in a row.
Okay. Patriots Texans. I'm taking the Patriots by a country mile.
Yeah.
Not even close.
Patriots and again Bill Belichick against rookie QB.
Yeah, easy. Lions Vikings. I'm going with the Vikings. Lions are horrible.
I'm going upset Lions.
Okay.
I think the Vikings have a tendency when they're riding that hype, they're gonna, as they showed last year, they might start to play down a little bit, and I think the Lions are going to hang around. I think, Jared Goff isn't great, but I don't think he's the worst quarterback in the world, and he can hang around if another team isn't playing well enough. So I think that the Lions are going to upset in this game.
Eagles Panthers. I'm taking the Panthers.
Panthers, long shot.
Saints Washington. This is a pretty good one. I'm going to go with the Saints to bounce back here.
I'm going to go with Washington.
Titans Jaguars. If you guys lose this game, if you have Jets.
Yeah. No, if we lose this game, I don't know what I'm going to do next week.
Rebuild mode. Titans got to take that one. Dolphins Bucs. I'm taking the Bucs without a doubt. Packers Bengals might be a good game. I'm going with the Packers. They're the
Packers too. I think Rodgers that offense is going to overpower the Bengals by a little too much.
And I think that week one game for the Packers seems like, as so far, they're 3-0 since then. They looked good. It seems like game one was a fluke. I'm taking the Packers there. Broncos Steelers. I'm going to go with the Broncos. I just don't believe the Steelers with Ben Roethlisberger.
It really depends on who's
Teddy's healthy. Yeah,
I don't know that Teddy's going to be healthy, and I assume he's not because he just had a concussion. I'm going to go with the Steelers.
Yeah. With that being said, Teddy doesn't play. I might go with Steelers. If he does, I'm definitely with the Broncos. Bears Raiders. I'm going with the Raiders here.
Raiders.
I don't think Justin Fields is ready to be a successful quarterback in the NFL just yet, although he is better than Andy Dalton. Browns Chargers could be probably the best game of the week right here. I'm going to go with the Browns here. I just think that they are the better team, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Chargers won. That's just a pick in the dark, honestly.
I'm going to go with the Chargers. I think they've been a little more consistent, and I trust them on offense a little more.
I just think that Browns defense is really something special.
It's going to be really close.
It's going to be a great game. Giants Cowboys. I'm going to go with the Cowboys here, but don't be surprised if the Giants upset this week with how they played last week.
No, don't be surprised at all, especially because it's a division game. The Giants always going to play them tough. I do think the Cowboys are going to pull it out because they are a better team.
100%. 49ers Cardinals. I'm going with the Cardinals. I think they're going to move to 5-0 here.
Cardinals, don't be too surprised if an upset because I can see the Cardinals riding that hype and the 49ers kind of lacking momentum right now. I could see a potential upset there, but I'm going to go with the Cardinals.
Then we got Bills Chiefs, which is going to be another fantastic game. I'm going to go with the Bills. I think the Bills are going to come out on top here. Their defense played fantastic last week. I'm not overly confident in the Chiefs right now in terms of their defense. I think they're just giving up too many points. Offensively, I don't think they're really at where they need to be right now. When you look at the games they've played this season, they started off decent. However, look at the games. Chiefs defense gave up 29. They gave up 36. They gave up 30, and they gave up 30 rather. So they're giving up nearly 30 points a game. Against this Bills offense is really good, and then you combine it with that defense. I just like the Bills in this game. Max?
I'm going to go with the Chiefs because I think they're going to treat this like a playoff game against a really good team. It's an important one for them, and I think they can win important games. Andy Reid and company, I trust them, so I'm going to go with the Chiefs.
And then Colts Ravens, I'm going with the Ravens.
Ravens,
Ravens. So that pretty much wraps up our podcast this week. I don't think Max has any other final words, so
Nope.
I'm going to wrap it up right here. We're both pressed for time. Again, thank you guys for listening. Hope to see you guys next week. Have a good one.